Okay, so The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. This arrived on Saturday. Incidentally, when I was watching The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, my intent was to watch this. This is the standard Blu-ray, and then I was going to compare the 4K when it arrived. But fortunately, it arrived earlier than I thought, so I was able to just swap out the discs. Now, there were a few things I wanted to look at before I just resumed playback, but I'll get to that later. So anyway, this and this. Just put that there. Now the 4K I'd say I was kind of disappointed about. I was kind of disappointed when I watched it. It's obviously bigger and it's clearer. And the color tones are a lot more natural, of course, as you would expect with a higher dynamic range. The landscapes have a lot more earthier tones as they should. The shadows are incredibly good. But of course the detail is not enhanced a whole lot from the standard Blu-ray. The grain looks better. I'll have to say the grain looks better. It doesn't look as, it doesn't look as fuzzy. I'm not quite sure exactly what to say, but the grain on the 4K does look better. So there are some improvements for sure, but there are some things, of course, you have to take into account: the age of the film, the budget, the fact that Sergio Leone's movies, spaghetti westerns in general, but specifically Sergio Leone movies, had a very specific look. Everyone's does. So you've also got to take that into account. You got to take into account the decisions by the cinematographer, who's still very good, but I think, they were filming a lot. It looks like in natural light, so that's pretty hard to do. Getting, especially when you've got harsh sunlight, that's kind of hard to do. So overall, I think the picture it's a little bit better, certainly. I like the fact that it's bigger and clearer, but it's a lot clearer. Actually, for example, the Ecstasy of Gold scene, which is my favorite piece of music in the film, but that when Tuco is running around the graveyard, that's not quite as blurry, which is good, so it's definitely clearer. But ultimately, it's not an incredibly large upgrade, But again, with the detail thing, sometimes films just aren't shot to have a ton of detail. I mean, look at Superman, the original Richard Donner movie. It was shot with soft detail. You're not going to get the sharp, crisp detail. Even on the 4K, you're not going to get that because that's just not how it was shot. Anyway, so for the things I was looking at, so this is 182 minutes. This is I believe the Spanish version. This is the full version of the movie. So I was looking for certain scenes to see, do you have certain scenes in the film? And they weren't there because that is the 161-minute version of the film, which was released in the United States. So you've got some scenes like when Tuco is recruiting his friends to kill Blondie, which of course does not work out very well for those guys. It's fine for Tuco because he's smart, but it doesn't work out too well for them. There's scenes, some extra stuff in the desert. There's a scene that kind of explains more why Lee Van Cleef is at the POW camp. So that is, that's cut out. Those are here on the deleted scenes in this Blu-ray, but they're not incorporated in the movie. It's the U.S. version of the film, which I think is fine. I don't really miss having them there. In fact, some of the scenes I didn't even really notice. You don't even really notice if they're there because usually they're extended scenes, really. So there's a big difference. These are two different versions of the film, two different releases of the film, which is... At first I thought it was disappointing, but it's not. It's kind of nice. It's nice to have both versions of the film, especially if you like to collect. It's nice to have, here's the full reconstructed version of the film. There's the American release. It'd be nice if the full version was on the standard Blu-ray. I haven't actually watched that yet, so I'm not 100% sure, but I'm willing to bet that it is not the full version on the regular Blu-ray. Speaking of that, the back of the box, don't know if you can see it. So the back of the box says Region A on it, which was, I was sort of a little upset about that. I was like, oh, I wonder if that means they region locked it, or if that just refers to the standard Blu-ray, which it does. It only refers to the standard Blu-ray. The 4K disc is region free. I can switch my player, which is region free, to region B, and it's still going to play in the player, but the regular Blu-ray, of course, won't. So that's nice that it's still region free. 4K is still region free. There's a few exceptions out there I haven't got my hands on, but people say they are region locked. But for the most part, 4K discs are still region free, which is very, very nice. Okay, so picture-wise, this is not a gigantic upgrade, but I still, especially if you like to collect, I would still recommend getting this one because it is a different version of the film. It's nice to, have multiple versions. I'm probably going, though, to watch, this version most often because the picture still looks really good. It's a little, like I said, it's a little bit blurrier, and it's not as clear. It's not as big. But what I really like about the length of it, first off, I like long movies, but having those scenes in it, all those other scenes, it just adds something to it. It certainly makes it a little bit more epic, but it also just makes it seem more grand. It makes it seem more like an experience, which is what I really like. And once you get past 2.5 hours, but especially once you get into the 3-hour realm of films, and then beyond that, it becomes a real experience, which I like, and that's what a film is supposed to be, in my opinion. So this is probably the version I will watch most often, but having that is a good thing to have. Okay, so I would recommend buying that if you are interested in having just something more in your collection. But if you collect 4K for a different reason, then I don't think you should get it. I don't think it's really necessary for you to get. I'd try to get the the reconstructed version that I have on the other Blu-ray. If you can, I'm not 100% sure if it's available anymore. So there's the good, the bad, and the ugly on 4K Blu-ray. I do have a few more coming eventually, and then some that are going to come out next week or something. I'm probably going to just go get. The other ones I have on pre-order, they're all steel books. I have one it's another first time on 4K, but it's one that I don't have, so I'm really glad that it's going to be the first time I own it as well. It's looks like it's sort of going to be the definitive edition of the film. And then the other two I think have already been on 4K. They probably have because they're 20th Century Fox. But you can't really get them anymore, I don't think. You can't. They were in a collection. It's a trilogy. But I only got the first two movies. So I'm not sure if they came out and then went out of print really fast or what, but I've not been able to find them anywhere. But that's fine because I've got them coming in probably about a month or so. I'm not 100% sure. They're not coming from this country, so it might be early June before I get them. I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, so I've got those coming, and then I'm going to buy some more, next week, just in the store. So stay tuned for that. All right, thank you very much.